Another new week, another new round of snow. Check out the view from my house earlier today. You can see the snow is coming down at a decent clip. It's going to stay that way for a lot of areas as we go into this evening, and the radar shows that very, very nicely. We'll talk about how this all plays out, plus what the rest of this week's forecast looks like after I thank our sponsor, Twin Ponds Wilderness Lodge. Twin Ponds Wilderness Lodge has a brand new 224-person event space, perfect for corporate functions, retreats, and gatherings year-round. Enjoy great service, stunning surroundings, and endless possibilities. See it for yourself this New Year's Eve at their New Year's Bash, featuring an exceptional dinner and live music from Coldwater Junction. Visit twinpondswilderness.lodge.com. Now we take a look at the weather headlines and we can see essentially what's going to be happening over the next couple of days. We are looking at the snow and wind tonight, tomorrow, and even tonight. We're looking at snow squalls for areas of western Newfoundland. Some of them are going to be rather intense. Wednesday looks quiet, and then we get an area of low pressure that's going to cut west of Newfoundland on Thursday, which brings in the first bout of mild temperatures that we've seen in quite some time. Now, with our current weather maker, Environment and Climate Change Canada has issued a slew of weather alerts. We have a yellow-coated winter storm warning for Conagra, Clarenville, Terra Nova, and the Bonavista Peninsula for upwards of 20 centimeters of snow by the time tomorrow morning rolls around. Outflanking that for Gander, Bonavista North, Buckens in the interior, Burgeo Ramia on the west side, Burin Peninsula, Avalon North, St. John's on the east side, a blowing snow advisory for areas of snow and blowing snow due to increasingly high wind speeds as we get into the overnight period. Now, speaking of the West Coast, I mentioned it earlier, we are going to be seeing some snow squalls there beginning later tonight and persisting through tomorrow. And because of that, a snow squall watch is in place for Corner Brook, Bay St. George, Port aux Basques, and Deer Lake Humber Valley. That may very well get expanded further north. If that wasn't enough, a wind warning is in effect for the Avalon Peninsula for tonight for winds gusting about as high as 100 kilometers per hour. This will not be like Friday night, but it's certainly going to be windy nonetheless as an area of low pressure takes shape to our south. Now, what's happening as the area of low pressure is developing? Well, we're seeing snow right now developing over much of southern and eastern Newfoundland ahead of that inbound low, currently departing the maritime provinces, but it's still snowing, or it's trying to snow at least, in the Cape Breton Highlands and on Cape Breton Island, as we are seeing the squalls getting going there as well, kind of a harbinger of things to come for the west coast. Now, we're going to watch this low begin to intensify as across the island this evening, mainly it looks like the kind of eastern third of Newfoundland. On the low's backside, what I want to draw your attention to is a core of high winds that's going to develop in this area here as we go into the overnight period. And that is primarily going to affect the Burin and Avalon peninsulas as we get into the evening hours. So at 10 o'clock, we're looking at winds again on the Burin Peninsula gusting close to 100 kilometers per hour. You can see the yellow color right there. That's what it corresponds to. And that core of high winds will slip eastward, rolling over the Avalon between about 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., and then moving offshore quickly thereafter. And by tomorrow morning, it's breezy, it's cold, maybe near -10, but it's not going to be as windy as it's going to be during the overnight period. Now, putting a number to the forecast wind speeds, you can see right there by 10 o'clock, there's those high winds in Grand Bank gusting 93. That wind core slips eastward by 12 o'clock. Winds in St. Bride's gusting 104, Placentia 78, Trepassey 86. In St. John's, a couple hours of winds gusting between 80 and 100. And then after about 2 or 3 in the morning, the wind speeds begin to decrease. And yes, it's breezy and cold tomorrow. Wind chill is going to be down to the -teens, but it's not going to be anything like we saw late last week and as we began the weekend. So timing out the snow, the heaviest snow for the Avalon is like now through like 6 or 7 p.m. Then we get a break, maybe even a bit of drizzle, and then we get another round of snow after midnight or so. But areas off to the west, Bonavista Peninsula, Clarenville, Terra Nova, out towards Gander, Bonavista North around Bonavista Bay down across the Conagra Peninsula, we are going to see the heaviest snow around that area by 9 p.m. We see that snow beginning to work its way off to the northeast by midnight. More snow on the Avalon and the northeast coast at that point, but it's quickly moving away. And by 3, 4 in the morning, lingering flurries, it's breezy, but that's about it. Then we get to phase 2. Colder air comes in and the onshore squalls kick on. On top of that, the lower and mid-level winds tomorrow are going to be aligned. And when you get that set up, you can get some really what word am I looking for? Proficient squall development from the Gulf of St. Lawrence to the east. You get these long, what you call streamers, these really long snow squalls. The interesting thing is the computer sees this as well. Oftentimes it doesn't, but this is a streamer here, and it goes from well east of Bonavista to Corner Brook. That is a snow squall tomorrow that could be close to 600 kilometers long. Another one here on the Burin to Avalon Peninsula, 225 kilometers long. And this one from like Terra Nova back to Bay St. George, forecast to be like 330 kilometers long. Now, what I'm trying to draw your attention to here is that we are going to see, snow squalls tomorrow. They're going to be around. Oftentimes the computer gets them right, but not necessarily the exact location. But areas that wind up under them will see more significant snowfall tomorrow, but those areas are going to be quite narrow. It's really hard to kind of pin down where they're going to be. Snowfall wise, as we go into the overnight, the rest of tonight through tomorrow morning, we're not looking at tremendously high amounts, but it does look like we're going to see the highest amounts for Clarenville, northern part of the Burin Peninsula, Terra Nova, back to St. Albans, where it looks like 15 to 25 is in the forecast. For St. John's, I'm thinking about 10 to 15 by the time we're all said and done. I would lean closer to 10 right now, but because this area of snow is so narrow, any kind of shift either southeast or northwest will have some big implications if the Lowe's track isn't nailed down correctly. But either way, I think 10-15 for much of the Avalon is a good bet. And then as we get back to Glovertown, we're in that same kind of boat. Gander 5 to 10, but again, could be a little more, especially if the snow is very fluffy. And then we go back to the west coast where it does look like we're going to see that 10 to 15 over large areas, but some areas may not see it so uniformly as we are going to on the eastern side of Newfoundland, because a lot of that's going to come from onshore flurries and snow squalls. Once you're on the northern peninsula, not much on the forecast for tomorrow morning, and same thing into most of Labrador as well. So for tonight, temperatures on the island are going to plummet after we get a bit of a warm up this evening. Tomorrow morning, look at those readings. St. John's -11. That does not include the wind chill, well into the minus teens or 20s tomorrow morning. Bundle the kids up as they're heading out to the bus stop. And then for the day tomorrow, highs of -2 to -8 or so into Labrador. Looking at minus teens and 20s overnight. For the day tomorrow, temperatures creeping into the minus teens for highs, a few flurries in the west. That really is about it for the big land. Looking ahead to Wednesday, we see a bit of a warmer day across much of the island, but it's going to be a quiet day as we spoke about earlier. Labrador is going to be quiet and cold on Wednesday, and then we look to Thursday, which again is going to be a day of change. Area of low pressure cuts up in the Gulf. That puts Newfoundland on the warm side of the low, meaning it's going to be warmer and rainy for a lot of us and not snowy. And then more snow is going to be flying in Labrador later in the week as well. In addition to what we saw late last week into the weekend where Goose Bay picked up over a foot of snow, I think with close to 38 centimeters. 30 centimeters makes up a foot. That's your trivia of the day. I'll have more updates as needed overnight and tomorrow morning for sure. In the meantime, stay safe. Have a very good Monday evening. If you don't have my app yet, be sure to get it in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. We'll be talking soon. Follow me for updates. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.